Good evening everyone. I wanted to start the stream a little earlier tonight to talk about the unfortunate accident in yesterday's F2 race at Spa involving 3 drivers, one of which was French driver Antoine Hubert. The cause of the crash is irrelevant, it's the aftermath I want to discuss. The race was immediately abandoned and Hubert was extracted from his car and taken to the medical centre where unfortunately he succumbed to his injuries and passed away at 6:35 p.m. local time. He was an incredibly talented driver, having won the GP3 title last year and had already won at France and Monaco in 2019. He was just 22 years old. A likeable character with a cheeky sense of humour, he was always happy to stop and say hello to journalists and fans in the paddock. He was good friends with Esteban Ocon and Charles Leclerc, having raced with them in the junior categories. Tonight, we race for Antoine. Motorsport can provide some breathtaking and magical moments, but it can also be devastatingly cruel at times. The drivers tonight will all be racing with the number 19, as well as sporting his pink helmet. For those of you who have been lucky enough to visit a Grand Prix event, you'll find the words "Motorsport is dangerous" on every ticket. Amongst the glitz and the glamour, we are sometimes reminded that life can be suddenly taken away. Each and every driver in every motorsport discipline are heroes to us all, doing something they love for our entertainment. From everyone associated with inside line racing, from the admin team, the stewards, the commentators, the drivers and the fans, we send our deepest condolences to the friends and family of Antoine Hubert on what must be a devastatingly difficult time. The show must go on. Thank you for listening. Well, good evening everyone and welcome to Inside Line Racing for round 5 of ILR1 at the Circuit de Catalunya Barcelona in Spain for what will be a hotly contested affair. Sweeping curves and long straights will push the drivers to the limit, and ETL penalties and retirement should be low tonight compared to last week at least, so drivers will have to put moves on and not rely on penalties for the cars ahead of them. The one-stop strategy is king around here with only 2 viable overtaking opportunities. The track length is 4.6 kilometres per lap, of which drivers will have to take 33 times if they wish to win this race. 2 DRS zones for the drivers to help them possibly create overtakes. First one along the main straight and the second after the blind and very fast turn 9 down to the tight turn 10. Care will be needed at turns 7 and 8 as the off-camber curbs can unsettle the car in low grip. Drivers also need to stay away from the sausage curbs at the final chicane, otherwise a poor exit through the final corner could leave them vulnerable to being overtaken. My name is Alex Lilliot, your ILR1 commentator for tonight, with just under 15 minutes left of the qualifying session. No lap times out there at the moment, but a few drivers are on hot laps already. Unfortunately, I had to leave the session at the beginning there due to the fantastic no sound glitch we get. There's a few questions coming in there saying about quali bans. We might as well talk about them now then before the first lap times come in. There are 4 bans in total. And this all stems obviously from last week's race at Baku. First of all, if you haven't watched the race from last week, where have you been? Go and watch it now. I'll wait and then come back and we'll carry on in a minute. So, LR Francis has a race ban, a full race ban for tonight. That's because he reversed onto the track, I think at turn 6 or 7, on what would have been a final lap. Got in the way of ILRT Liam Yeo, who was chasing down Louis for the lead and potentially the race win. Reversed into the front of him. Liam Yeo had nowhere to go, creamed into him, destroyed his race. So he's been given a full race ban basically for reversing onto the track in a dangerous place. ILRT Yanul in the McLaren and It's Me in the Racing Point, who's not here tonight, both have qualifying bans, and that is because they retired a healthy car on track. We do say to the drivers, if you want to retire and leave a session, do so in the pit lane. It's the safest way to do so. Please don't retire on track, especially if you've only got a bit of a damaged front wing. So they've both got quali bans. It's Me is away, so a service quali ban at the next event, and ILRT Louis in the Mercedes is also serving a qualifying ban for dangerous driving on the run up to the finish line on the final lap. So we've got a few laps in at the moment. Then Sparks in the Red Bull with an 18.600 just ahead of Truesdale, who's done an 18.810 on the soft tyres. Aaron Collingwood in the Renault in third place, 18.871 also on the soft tyres. The soft runners, I should say at the moment, probably not really paying too much attention to them. That's why Sparks is obviously quicker on those hard tyres. We've got NSX Dusty, Lickle and Sterling, who's had a name change. Used to be Sterling West, he's now ILRT Sterling in the Ferrari. So the Drivers and the Constructors Championships, then we'll quickly touch on that. Truesdale leads the way for Toro Rosso on 76 points. VSR Wayne, Alfa Romeo in second on 63. And then it's Louis on 42. Onyx Mur, who's not here tonight, on 37. And ILRT Rafa, who's had a very difficult last couple of races, in 5th place on 36. Alfa Romeo lead the Constructors on 99. Toro Rosso in 2nd place on 77. Mercedes in 3rd on 56. Williams P4 on 41. Red Bull in 5th on 31. The reserve drivers tonight, Kornhoff replaces Liam Yeo in the Red Bull, NSX Dusty replaces It's Me in the Racing Point, and we do not have Onyx Mur or Lakitu tonight either, which is why we have 17 drivers. 2 are missing, and the third one, Francis, of course, serving a race ban. So Gonanon then is the first driver to set a representable lap time on the soft tyres of 17.341. As we're just watching Kornhoff here in the Red Bull come through turn 9. There's a DRS opening down into turn 10. This will be a good overtaking opportunity because it's such a heavy braking zone as well. You can complete moves on the inside and the outside around here as well. Then coming through 11 and 12 as well. 12 very oversteery here through here as well. You have to be careful to not spin that car around. And then through 13, again keeping away from the sausage curb, over to the right hand side for the final chicane, turns 14 and 15. Again, a good exit is needed through here, through the flat out New Holland corner at 16 as he comes up to the line, and his first lap time on the board is a 19.461 on those hard tyres. We've only still got 8 drivers out of the 17 that have set lap times. Rafa is currently out there at the moment for Alfa Romeo. We've got a few other drivers as well. LR Pog is out there, S2V Paris as well. So a few drivers still in the pits. I'll be expecting most of these guys to probably be on the medium tyres, I feel, going into qualifying. The one-stop strategy is quite important around here because it is very difficult to overtake, so you don't want to be making a 2-stop strategy and then finding yourself in traffic. Plus, with the harder gradients of tyres, the one-stop strategy is sort of king around most of these circuits. So Raffadem just coming down into the final chicane. He's going to complete this lap through the final turn then. Opening up the DRS for the short run to the start-finish line. He goes into second place on an 18.528. Just 10 minutes left of this session. We'll try and find someone else. It's just about to start a flying lap. And hopefully they can take us on a run. Dusty then looks like he's on a flying lap. So here we go then for a lap around the Catalunya circuit in Barcelona. Through Elf turn 1, turn 2. And now through Renault turn 3 here, which is a little bit of a lift is needed to come through here. You can't take it completely flat out. We've got some drivers on the right hand side just staying out of the way. Heavy braking for turn 4, Repsol. You can turn in late and you can run wide late as well. Try and stay away from the exit curb if you can. Over to the right hand side for turn 5 at Sayat. Again, late entry into the corner. Kiss the apex. Run the car wide if you want. And then through the little kink of turn 6 into the heavy braking zone for 7. Try and stay away from the inside curb. Run the car wide through 8. And then up the hill then towards this blind, very fast turn 9. Use as much of the curb on the inside and outside as you can. Open up the DRS. Move the car over to the right hand side. Position the car then for heavy braking into turn 10. You're running just a little wide there. Straighten the car up as best as you can through 11, which is pretty much just a little bit of a kink, and then into 12, which is a long right hander. Feels like it goes on forever and ever. Straighten up the car again. Little short burst into Europe car turn 13. Over to the right again for the best entry into 14 and then 15. This final chicane. Straighten up the car yet again for the quick blast through New Holland corner, which will be taken flat out in qualifying and the race. Open the DRS over the line. It's an 18.994. His first lap on those hard tyres puts that racing point into 7th place. And Dusty, a reserve driver, is still finding his feet, but he's doing a decent job at the moment in ILR1. It's always difficult for the reserve drivers to come in, picking up different cars, different teammates as well at different circuits, and they may not have the experience of all of the other full-time drivers in ILR1. There could be a lot of drivers here that they're sort of competing with for the first, second or third time, but NSX Dusty certainly starting to find his feet, and he's a very capable reserve driver in ILR1, and I believe he's started pretty much every race so far this season as well, so he's certainly getting some track time out there. 11 of the 17 drivers have set lap times. VSR Lambo just coming into the final chicane. I believe he is on the flying lap as well. So we are starting to get more and more drivers posting lap times. Lickle has completed 5 timed laps on those hard tyres. And Yanal did a 19.3, but it was invalidated. So he's going to go again. We've got VSR Blizzard as well, who's having a horror show of a season so far. 5th race of the season. He currently sits on 4 points. A few people saying he's really struggling on this game for whatever reason. Speed Barry as well making a return. He wasn't here last week. He's now starting his first flying lap. And VSR Wayne as well, just negotiating the final chicane then. Anyone out there in the chat, if they've got any idea of what the weather is going to be like for the race, then do put it up. Unfortunately, it's one of those things I don't know. I don't see their weather forecast screen, and it's always quite nice to know exactly what is going on in the race rather than being completely surprised. So Gonanan still on provisional pole with 17.341. The only driver to set his quickest time on the soft tyres, everyone else on the hards and the mediums for now. We might as well look then fitted. Yeah, we've got a couple of drivers on the mediums. Most people will, that's still there out on the hard tyres. So we'll keep up the fitted screen for now. We'll change to what the best will be once everyone is on their flying lap towards the end of the session. I'll be expecting most of these people maybe going for the mediums and then going on to the hards in the race as well. Starting on the hard tyres though towards the back of the field isn't a bad strategy to do. You can really take these hard tyres quite far into the race, and they are very durable of course. They do have a decent amount of grip, and you can be posting some very consistent lap times in the race on those hard tyres as Rafa then negotiates turn 9. Aaron Collingwood now onto the soft tyres in 3rd place as well. We've got VSR Wayne. We'll see what he's doing. We'll jump on board with the Alfa Romeo driver. Good start to the season so far. Couple of wins, sees himself in 2nd place in the championship, giving chase to the ever impressive Truesdale in his Toro Rosso. Coming through the final corner now, this should be a fairly competitive time on the hard tyres, and 18.511 indeed it is, puts him into 4th place. So the Alfa Romeo guys are sharing row 2 at the moment, but of course all that will change towards the end of the session. Just under 6.5 minutes left to go. Aaron Collingwood now back out on circuit, now on those soft tyres. Nickel 6th place, just taking to the old part of the circuit. which I wish they'd bring back. That final chicane is a bit Mickey Mouse, really. It would be nice to have those final, very fast 2 or 3 right-handers at the end of the lap like we used to have best part of about 15, 16 years ago. As Lickle comes back into the pits then, he'll be making a change onto his next set of tyres. Blizzard coming up into 8th place at the moment then. He's just posted his first lap time in 18.617. So you can see there that most of the drivers are now making a change on either to the soft or the medium tyres. I'll be expecting most of these guys to be going for the mediums. ILRT Yanal and VSR Lambo in the McLarens have yet to set a lap time. Same for ILRT Louis in the Mercedes. But we know, of course, that Yanal and Louis are serving qualifying bans. And I believe Lambo, I did see when I was doing my pre-race notes there that Lambo joined the session. So I wonder if he got the blue wall of death, the blue screen of death at the beginning of qualifying. He's had to rejoin the session and is unable to go out on circuit. So of course then we've got 2 of those 3 drivers that have yet to set a lap time of serving qualifying bans. The third driver setting qualifying ban is It's Me. He's not here tonight, so he'll serve it next week if he's here. And of course Francis in the Toro Rosso, the second Toro Rosso, is not here tonight. He's serving a full race ban for reversing in front of poor old Liam Yeo, who was odds on to take the win at Baku last week. So this is the lull now. I'm going to take a short break as we wait for everyone to come back out on the tyres they've selected to go for their final qualifying run. So Alan Collingwood, who was the only other driver out on circuit apart from ILRT Sterling, was just doing a dummy run on those soft tyres there, seeing what the pace would have been like. I would have been surprised if he did set his final qualifying attempt on the soft tyres. Sterling, at a moment out there for Ferrari, picked up his first points of the season last week. The same for Gonnanan as well, which means that all full-time drivers now have at least 1 point to their name this season. And Sterling then just slowly negotiating the final chicane. Again, just doing a dummy run on those medium tyres. He's now back into the pits as well. NSX Dusty and Kornoff are out on circuit. Same for ILRT Rafa and VSR Wayne. Looks like pretty much everyone going for the medium tyres as I expected. It'll be the interesting time now. Looks like the Alfa Romeo guys are going early in this session, so they very well may set the quickest times in the session, or certainly right up there, and then they may start tumbling down the order. But we know already that Rafa and Wayne are very, very capable drivers in ILR1. It's a good pairing so far. VSR Wayne certainly been picking up the baton in the last couple of races, whilst Rafa has fallen away a little bit through no fault of his own, really. Unfortunately, at China he had an incident with Truesdale which put him to the back of the field, and he was unable to carve his way through the field and like the Toro Rosso driver. And then Baku was pretty much just a horror show for the Alfa Romeo driver. So Rafa then now on his final flying lap. You can see there the ERS mode in hot mode number 5. Hot lap mode number 5 then, knocking it down to 4 a little bit as they move into 7th and 8th gear. It's a little trick that some of these drivers seem to think they can gain an advantage on. It was certainly a big advantage on the previous game, where the first on your qualifying run, gears 1 to 6, do it in ERS mode 5. As soon as you go into gear 7, knock it down to ERS mode 4 to gain a little bit of extra speed, and it's certainly what Rafa is doing. VSR Wayne as well, he's now coming down to turn 1. So both the Alfa Romeos now on their final lap. A lot of other drivers now out on circuit at the moment as well. You can see that Gonnanan is sticking to his guns on the soft tyres. It's no guts, no glory for the Haas driver. So we'll come back to Rafa then. He's going to be the first driver then to complete his qualifying run. And Aaron Collingwood has left the session, and that is bad news for the Renault driver, because he may not have enough time to rejoin the session. If he doesn't before the formation lap, he will be out of the session. Rafa then crosses the line, completes qualifying, a 17.342, agonisingly just 1,000th of a second away from taking provisional pole position, which is still being held by Gonnanan and has been for a majority of this session. VSR Wayne will be crossing the line in the next 15 or so seconds. In fact, he's going to go again. You can see there his ERS mode is turned off. He's obviously made a mistake or an invalidation, so he's going to go again on these medium tyres. We'll see if anyone else out there is on a flying lap. Lickle has just started his. Sparks as well. It's just a couple of seconds behind. Blizzard is crossing a line now, as is Truesdale. Dusty now coming across the line to start his, and Dusty in fact completes his qualifying run and moves up into 5th place in an 18.3. So we know that VSR Wayne is going again. Aaron has rejoined the session. Hopefully he can get back into the actual session before the end of qualifying. And Louis retires from the session. Of course, he had a qualifying ban. He's had enough of spectating. So Sparks, Blizzard in Sector 1 at the moment, Sector 2 I should say. Truesdale just a few seconds behind. LR Poe is coming round into the final couple of corners now. So we'll stay with Poe, see if he can move this racing point somewhere inside the top 10. Just negotiating the final chicane in, and then the final corner as well. This doesn't look to be the most competitive lap time. In fact, it is actually, could be quite quick actually. It's an 18.753. He has improved, but hasn't improved his position. We'll have a look at anyone else coming around. Gonnanen then. We'll keep an eye on Gonnanen. You can see there that the session is now over for some of these guys. Will Gonnanen improve from a 17.3 as he crosses the line now? It's a 17.1 on the soft tyres. So he's the red herring in this. Paris has backed out. Sterling is on his flying lap at the moment. We'll come down to Truesdale. We know he's quick. Blizzard's backed out. Truesdale will cross the line. He moves up into 3rd place on a 17.5. Paris is backed out. Sterling, I don't think, will be at the front of the field. So Speed Barry, another driver that can really be challenging the front runners here, coming through the final corner now on the medium tyres as well. He crosses the line. His lap time is good enough for 3rd place, a 17.441. LR Pog, we know, is out of it. He's finished. Sterling and Paris, we know, is backed out. So I think Sterling is the last car across the line. He is certainly giving it full guns at the moment as he comes out of the chicane into the final corner. Great helicopter shot above the Ferrari, coming over the line, opening the DRS, and Sterling fails to improve his lap time and remains in 9th place. Paris coming into the pits, and I believe Poe has backed out as well. Indeed he has. So that will be the session over then. Gonnanen is the red herring in this qualifying session, opting to go onto the soft tyres, and therefore has taken pole position, his first of the season in an ILR1 with a 17.131. Rafa on the front row and best position I think to win this race with a 17.3. Speed Barry in 3rd, Truesdale in 4th. The rest of the top 10 you can momentarily see there. Poe retires from the session, and therefore the qualifying session is now finished. So there we go then. Gonnanen, just to confirm, on pole position on the soft tyres. Rafa, Speed Barry, Truesdale, Lickle and Sparks complete the top 6 events. VSR Wayne, Paris, ILRT Sterling and Kornhoff all on the medium tyres. Outside is NSX Dusty, the reserve driver for Racing Point in 11th. Had a VSR Lambo in 12th. Aaron Collingwood in 13th. Lost connection towards the end of a session. Poor session for Blizzard in 14th. Poe down in 15th. Yanul and Louis both had qualifying bans. So thank you to Jess Games there, who has managed to ban someone who was posting up some rather unpleasant comments in the chat. Unfortunately, there are a few morons out there who do creep their way in, but it was nice to see everyone pretty much turn around and say, get out of here, no one needs to see that. So the formation lap now, 33 laps here at Spain, Gonanen on the soft tyres. It'll be interesting to see A, if he can hold on to his lead, and B, to see how far he can take these tyres. The rest of the top 10, obviously starting on the tyres, they set their best lap time on, every single one of them on the medium tyres. Outside of the top 10, they of course have a free choice of what tyres to start on. All going for the hard tyres, apart from Aaron Collingwood, who's on the mediums. Not too sure if that's a default setting or if he's chosen the mediums. Of course, he did lose connection at the end of towards the end of the session, but hopefully he is in his car. Hopefully he's managed to put on the setup and his strategy. Keep an eye on ILRT Yanul and especially ILRT Louis as well. They've now served their qualifying bans. They'll be starting at the back of the field, and hopefully both of them can start to carve their way through the field. So coming round then through New Holland corner, turn 16 here, with LR Gonanen in the Haas on pole position. A surprise pole position, but he's obviously feel like, why not, just go for it, see what I can do. And all the drivers are now taking up the grid spot. Jump on board of ILRT Louis in the Mercedes. He sees a lot of cars ahead of him. He's going to have to pass 16 of these cars in 33 laps. That's a car every couple of laps if he wants to win this race and continue mounting a title charge. But here we go then. All 17 drivers are now on the grid. And we wait for 5 lights to get going here at Spain. They're coming on now. Hopefully it's going to be a clean first lap. 5 lights. The lights are out and away they go now. It's a good start by Gonanen and Rafa as well. And I think Rafa is already pulling alongside. You can see a few cars in the background just moving around. They're almost 2 by 2 down into turn 1. Don't snatch a break on the inside. And Rafa does lock up a little bit. But Gonanen's going to fight this lead. And there's contact further back. There's a Haas round. That will be Lickle has been spun by someone. But Rafa has managed to take the lead here, ahead of Gonanen, Speed Barry and Truesdale in 3rd and 4th. There's a little bit of lag showing there as we move back through the field to all midfield runners. Both the Red Bulls very close together, and I think Kornhofer's spun. He has, and he's collected a few other cars as well in the gravel on the exit of turn 4, and the positions are changing all the time in the midfield. Louis has managed to get through it as well, and it's Sparks then, unfortunately. Kornhofer, I think, lost the car a little bit, and poor old Sparks has been caught up in it, but halfway around lap 1 it's Rafa that still holds on to this lead. Gonanen in 2nd position, and Speedbar will be trying everything he can to get past this Haas driver as quickly as possible. Truesdale in 4th, Wayne in 5th as well, and then it's Paris and Sterling, and they have a big gap back to these guys further back due to the instance with the Red Bull drivers. Dusty in 8th, Lambo in 9th, Blizzard up into 10th position. Louis putting some early moves on here, side by side with LR Poe going through turns 11 and 12. He's on the outside, so Poe will have the inside for this. Gives him a little bit of a squeeze onto the exit curb, and again they're still pushing around coming into the final chicane. Louis now should complete that move coming into and out of the final chicane. Indeed he does, up into 12th position, pushing everyone further down, and there's a whole host of cars coming into the pit lane then. Obviously a lot of these cars have quite a bit of damage on them, but at the end of lap 1 into 2 it's Rafa that leads ahead of Gonanen in 2nd place. Speed Barry in 3rd. We've got a yellow flag in sector 3. We can see so many cars are in the pits, and Blizzard is coming in, Poe as well, Lambo, Kornhoff and Louis all changing tyres, all having front wing changes, but it's Rafa that leads. Gonanen in 2nd, closely followed by Speed Barry, Truesdale and Wayne. Paris and Sterling West, ILRT Sterling just dropping back just a little bit. Dusty Lickle and Aaron Collingwood complete the top 10. So we'll jump on board with Speed Barry, see how his car is handling compared to Gonanen on those soft tyres. A little bit twitchy from the Haas driver through 9. Barry looking very smooth though. And these cars still very close together. You can see Dusty just a few seconds back. I mean, there's a big gap all the way back to Aaron Lickle, I should say, in 9th place, who was unceremoniously tapped off at turn 1. His front wing seems okay though, and he's recovered well into 9th place. Aaron into 10th after disconnecting in qualifying. His car seems fine. Same for Sparks and Yanul. In fact, Yanul has lost the front left end plate there. You can see that here on his camera angle, so his car is going to be understeering quite badly. And Gononen's losing position. What's happened to Gononen? He's off the circuit in the final corner, and he's ghosted as well. Kornhoff has retired as well, and Gononen does come back onto the circuit. Hopefully he's clear of anyone behind. He is indeed. I think Aaron should be able to possibly get a nice toe here against the Haas driver into turn 1, so I'm not too sure what's happened to Gononen. He might have had contact, he might have lost it by himself. Down into turn 1, around the outside goes Aaron. Gononen has a lot of I should say dust and dirt on those tyres that would take the best part of half a lap to clear off. And Gononen, unfortunately, the strategy is now not working for him. Kornhoff leaves the session, and Yanul decides that his front wing is too badly damaged to carry on, so he pits at the end of lap 2. We've got yellow flags in sector 2 as well, but Rafa carries on now 1.6 seconds ahead of Speed Barry as everyone else inside the top 6 filter through very close together. Sterling keeping pace as well, which is good to see from the Ferrari driver. And Dusty on his own at the moment on circuit. Same for Lickle in 8th and Aaron in 9th. He's dropped Gononen a little bit on those soft tyres, which probably are past their best already. Sparks in 11th place. And then everyone else behind has made a pit stop. Lambo in 12th has gone onto the hard tyres. Louis onto the mediums. Blizzard and Poe also onto the hard as well. And Yanul at the very back in 16th on the medium tyres. The Speed Barry sets a new fastest lap of the race as he begins to give chase to the Alfa Romeo driver of Rafa, Speed Barry, Truesdale and Wayne. The top 4, hardly surprising to see them that far up. And Paris as well, after his first start of the season last week at Baku and claiming an unlikely 3rd place at the death when he was, I think, 7th or 8th going into the final lap. Such was the carnage and chaos that we saw last week on the final couple of laps. He's holding on well in 5th place. Sterling as well is still there in 6th place and giving chase. Louis sets a new fastest lap, a 1:21.080, but as it stands he will not pick up the extra World Championship point for that as he's outside the top 10. But I'm sure that might change as the race goes on. Gononen still carrying on though in 10th place, so he hasn't pitted to get rid of those soft tyres just yet. And again, unsure what happened to Gononen, but he was certainly way off the track in the final corner. As we jump on board with Paris and now Wayne, as he sees potential podium ahead of him here. Gaps are sort of evened out a little bit, but now of course on lap 4 coming into lap 5, the lap's already going very quickly, so DRS of course has already been enabled, has been for a couple of laps. Rafa is not going to come under threat from it, and Yanul is retiring from the race. Not too sure what's happened there. He may very well have given up. Unfortunately we can't really change to someone else to see where Yanul is because he was the last runner on the circuit, so he's either crashed or given up somewhere around sector 2. Speed Barry then 1.2 seconds behind Rafa, but Truesdale is in the DRS range, as is VSR Wayne on him. And Paris is now starting to drop back a little bit, and Sterling is catching up. So I think Paris might have made a mistake somewhere in sector 1. And it's pretty much full of a leader at the moment. Rafa, I think, has maybe made a mistake as well, because he's lost the best part of half of his lead there. He's now only 6/10 ahead of Speed Barry. To negotiate a very tricky turn 7 and turn 8. It's not too bad at this part of the race, but once the tyres start to wear off a little bit, you start to see the cars suffer with some understeer and snap oversteer pretty much at the same time. And Rafa then, for whatever reason, has lost a lot of time, and Speed Barry is now starting to close up. Rafa just running wide as well a little bit through turn 10, and Barry is now right with him as well, bringing Truesdale and Wayne along for the ride. So the top 4 now very close together. They're all going to get DRS off of each other as well. And poor old Rafa here, if he gets a poor exit through New Holland corner at the end of this lap, he could very well be in trouble for losing this race lead. So coming across the line to complete lap 5 into lap 6, Rafa already feels the need to move over to the right hand side, but Barry is wise to that game, follows him with the toe and the DRS down into turn 1. Should be a comfortable move around the outside. Rafa doesn't fight it, he knows the position is up, and the Mercedes driver becomes our 3rd different leader of this race already. And can Truesdale now try to follow through, getting past Rafa? He won't be able to here, he's too far away going into turn 4. His next opportunity will be down into turn 10 with the DRS assistance. VSR Wayne is dropping back a little bit. Paris is dropping even further back, as I think he's a bit busy keeping Sterling behind him. LR Poe picks up a 3-second time penalty for exceeding the track limits one too many times. So there might be a few penalties here tonight, but nothing crazy like we would see at other races as well. TJ Downing just saying, "Our Rafa's tyre's gone," or what? I'd be surprised. I think he just made a mistake on the previous lap, and then obviously gifting the DRS to Speed Barry, managed to make the move past on the outside into turn 1. He's certainly not dropping back hand over fist, so Rafa's made a mistake on the previous lap, and because of it, we've been so competitive at the front of this field. A little mistake like that can see you lose a position or two, and it's exactly what's happened to the Alfa Romeo driver. So Truesdale is now very, very close to the back of Rafa. You can see Barry there just moving about as he sets a new fastest lap of the race. Rafa has the DRS, so does Truesdale as well, so I don't think there's going to be a move. We'll watch further back. Sterling has DRS on Paris, who defends the inside, and the Ferrari driver is going to have to attempt to surround the outside. Very late on the brakes on the pair of them. He's got the inside for turn 2. Should be able to complete the move if you can squeeze the Renault driver wide, but they're still side by side coming through turn 3, and now Paris is ahead yet again. So great side by side action between the two of them. Paris might defend the inside, but Sterling throws the car up the inside there. Possibly a little bit of contact between them. They're keeping it nice and clean. Jumping on board with the Ferrari driver. He's still on the outside, but Paris just gives them the squeeze there going in to turn 5. And we've got yellow flag in sector 3 as VSR Blizzard becomes another retirement, so we're only down to 14 drivers then. He was at the back of the field as well, so I can only assume he's unfortunately given up, thrown in the towel early, and Blizzard's season continues to fall away from him. Sterling putting the pressure on Paris here. Lap 7 of 33. The top 4 are disappearing, although VSR Wayne's sort of on his own at the moment a little bit. He's 2.5 seconds clear of Paris, 1.5 seconds behind Truesdale, and Rafa certainly seems to be a bit up to speed now. So into lap 8, Rafa with the DRS again, as is Truesdale. Truesdale is gaining a little bit, coming down into turn 1. A very long main straight here, but he's not close enough to try anything. Sterling is going to have a second bite at the cherry against Paris, and this time forcibly puts himself up the inside, and I don't think Paris can be able to do anything about this. Indeed he doesn't, and Sterling has been threatening to get past this Renault driver for the last couple of laps. Oh, and now completes it, and then a bit of lag there from Sterling. Fortunately his car ghosted. That would have been a terrifyingly scary moment for both of these drivers. You can see that Paris very close to the back of that Ferrari. Sterling again just showing a little bit of lag. Hopefully that calms down, and and Paris gives him a little love tap. You don't want to do that too many times, just unsettles Sterling's Ferrari a little bit on the exit of turn 5. Now through the kink of 6 into 7 and 8, and Paris is sticking to the back of this Ferrari's rear wing. Now through turn 9, he'll lose a bit of front downforce. You can see there running wide just a little bit over the curve as the front downforce washes away from that front wing, and any advantage you would have had with the DRS down to turn 10 is now completely gone. His best opportunity to retake that 5th position will be down into turn 1. So Dusty then on his own in 7th place, keeping out of trouble on those hard tyres. Lickle as well, after spinning on the exit of turn 1 at the beginning, now into 8th place. He's on his own, and Aaron Collingwood in 9th now has Sparks behind him in 10th for company. Everyone else behind has already made a pit stop, so Louis will have to be in the pits again. Lambo, Poe and Gonanen might be trying to go to the end on the hard tyres. It'll be a bit of a struggle. Gonanen should be able to possibly do it. He'll have 25 laps on those. Lambo and Poe pitted, I think, at the end of lap 2 or 3. They will struggle to get to the end. But Speed Barry still leads. Rafa in 2nd place is now dropped behind again, and Truesdale is putting all of the pressure on the Alfa Romeo driver, trying desperately to take that P2. So Rafa and Speed Barry's left the session. Speed Barry has left the session. He's had the blue screen of death, and our race leader is going to be tumbling down the order. This is heartbreaking news for the Mercedes driver and a gift to Rafa, but he's got to be careful because Truesdale is very close behind, and we can see Truesdale move from 3rd to 1st in a couple of corners time. Speed Barry there, you can see, is now starting to fall down the order, and Rafa is pushing as hard as he can, locking up that front right. as he defends for all of his might against Truesdale, but poor old Speed Barry has lost connection. Hopefully he can rejoin, because he was looking very quick out here, and Wayne as well could be moving up into the podium spot very, very quickly. This is a gift for all of his drivers, and Speed Barry will be cursing and saying every rude word under the sun at the moment. I hope and pray that the Mercedes driver can quickly get back into the session. He's already down in 4th place. Sterling and Paris will benefit from this as well, as they continue their spirited battle for what will surely be P4 in a lap or two time. Meanwhile, we've got Gonanen and Poe fighting over 13th place, as Gonanen has recently been in the pits. Oh, contact between the two of them, and Poe's just given a love tap there to the Haas driver, unsettled him going through turn 3 as well, which is why he took a wider line. But both drivers have managed to compose themselves, and they will carry on their merry way. Meanwhile, Louis then, a little bit of attention on Louis in the chat as well to see what he can do. Currently running in 11th place, but any hope of a positive result tonight is gone after having to make a pit stop early on to fix damage. And you can see there all these drivers at the moment sporting different variations of pink helmets, as Truesdale takes the lead into turn 1 on lap 11. DRS assisted up the inside. Rafa didn't defend it, and now Alfa Romeo are looking at a P2 and a P3 here. Truesdale back into the, or I should say into the lead of this race now, and will hopefully start to pull away, get out of that DRS range. And again, you can see there the various drivers sporting pink helmets, carrying car number 19 for Antoine Hubert, who unfortunately lost his life yesterday in the F2 race at Spa. Sterling and Paris now in 4th and 5th. Speed Barry still not back in the session, and you have to feel that he's not going to rejoin. Usually people can rejoin within a minute or two. It's been a couple of laps now, and unfortunately the Mercedes driver will be tumbling down the order and will be classified as a DNF. So this is a gift to everyone. That'll be now moving up a position or two as SBS comes in with the older Esports ready joke. Yep, indeed it is. This game constantly seems to have problems with each year that goes by. We get the no sound glitch when we're trying to commentate, which means we have to leave the session and rejoin. And also again, drivers disconnecting at random times, which is maybe not the game's fault, maybe it's his own internet's fault. He might have lost power or whatever, we don't know. But for whatever reason, Speed Barry unfortunately will not be rejoining the session by the looks of it. All the way down into 8th place now as Lickle moves past, and we've got pit stop. Sterling and Paris are coming in off of those medium tyres. These two drivers have been close together all race, going onto the hard tyres. Sterling should keep that position ahead of Paris, indeed he does. And they will now fall down the order a little bit, but they're on the hard tyres now, which they'll comfortably be able to take to the end. It'll be interesting to see if they can close the gap to the cars in front of them, but I don't think so. I think they're involved in their own little battle for P4 and P5. Meanwhile, at the front, Truesdale has a half a second lead over Rafa. VSR Wayne a couple of seconds back from his teammate as well. Dusty doing a very good job on those hard tyres in 4th place at the moment. Started well down the order and has benefited from drivers retiring, disconnecting or whatever. And he's now sitting in a very nice 4th position, as Aaron Collingwood now starts to close up on the unfortunately disconnected Speed Barry. Sparks, another good job from the reserve driver. Had an incident on lap 1 at turn 4, but he's inside the points. Sterling and Paris will start to give chase, and Louis still in 11th place. He's clear of Lambo, Gonanen and Poe behind, but I feel that Louis will obviously be having to make another pit stop before the end of this race. So Rafa in the pit set. He's obviously not fancying these medium tyres any further, and he will now be in for the hard tyres. Again, comfortably towards the end of the race, as Lickle and Dusty move up as well. Aaron should as well. Sparks and Speed Barry, disconnected Speed Barry I should say, is now into the pits, and Rafa comes out behind Aaron Collingwood, but he's in relatively clean air as Sterling and Paris now start to move up the order, and they continue their little battle here. This could be a very race-long battle, and it's good to see both of these drivers competing well inside the top 10. Sterling had a difficult start to the season, picked up his first points at Baku, where pretty much all you had to do was finish the race to pick up points, and Paris as well showing that he deserves his seat in ILR1. Missed the first 3 races of the season due to not having a decent wheel and pedal set, waiting for a new set to arrive. It has picked up a podium at Baku and is now fighting well inside the top 10. LR Po becomes yet another retirement. Where numbers are dwindling here at Spain, and we're at risk of having about 6 drivers finish at this race. Again, another driver who was well down the order and very well could have thrown in the towel early on. Truesdale still leads. VSR Wayne, the second Alfa Romeo driver, is now in the pits. That will promote NSX Dusty into the dizzying heights of P2. I assume Wayne will be going for the hard tyres. If he's going for anything different, I will be surprised. Lickle in 4th place, also into the points. We know that Dusty can go quite far on these hard tyres. I feel Truesdale will probably be in the pits at the end of this lap to prevent the undercut from either of the Alfa Romeo drivers. We'll have to keep an eye on Rafa. He's now very close to the back of Aaron, who's obviously taken those medium tyres very far. Good move up the inside. Aaron didn't fight it. No need to. He's not racing. These two aren't racing each other for track position. So Rafa back up at the 3rd, which should be 2nd once Dusty pits off of those hard tyres. And I'm assuming that Truesdale will be in probably at the end of this lap to prevent the undercut from Rafa. As Truesdale comes down into turn 10. Negotiating sector 3 yet again, and I'll be expecting the Toro Rosso driver into the pits. Don't make a mistake through the chicane, just kisses the curb just a little bit, and indeed moving over to the right hand side, try and take the best entrance into the pit lane as possible. Don't speed, don't speed, don't speed. He has sped, and it's a 5-second penalty for Truesdale. He might serve it now in the pit lane, or it might be added on at the end of the race, because he will not be pitting again. They are working on the car vent, so Truesdale will have to remember that. Oh no, they're holding him in the pits here, I think, so it could be oh, I'm not too sure actually. I'm not too sure. Has he served his penalty or not? I don't know. I don't know if he has. We'll have to wait and see. But here comes Rafa then, down the outside into turn 1. He'll try to cut back through 2, maybe try and get a better exit through turn 3 if he can. His tyres will be up to speed. Truesdale, his tyres will be still not up to optimal temperature, but I think he's done enough there to prevent an overtake from Rafa. But we'll all have to remember that Truesdale may have 5 seconds added onto his race time at the end due to speeding in the pit lane. Blizzard leaves the session after retiring a few laps ago. So Dusty then out of position at the moment, as is ILRT Louis. So if you take Dusty and Louis out of this, this is the true race order. Truesdale leads ahead of Rafa and Wayne. Sterling and Paris will be 4th and 5th once Dusty pits. But NSX Dusty doing a good job here in the racing point, which is quite emotional to see, to be honest. Almost like the BWT Arden F2 car with the pink helmet and the car number 19. Almost could be like Antoine Huber leading a race here at Spain. But he comes in to lap 16, half distance now for Dusty. You'll enjoy a couple of laps at the front of the field. You'll be wanting to take these hard tyres as far as possible to give himself the best opportunity to push on the medium tyres. I don't think he can go hard to softs. I wouldn't advise it, to be honest. The tyre wear around here on the soft tyres is quite high. So I think Dusty will probably be in maybe around about lap 19 to 21, changing on those medium tyres. Meanwhile, Truesdale in what is P1, but at the moment P2 still has Rafa behind him. They've dropped Wayne. Wayne is a long way back, over 5 seconds away from Rafa, and he's running wide as well through turn 3. Is there something wrong with Wayne by any chance? His car looks fine. He doesn't have a punch. He doesn't have dirt on his tyres. He doesn't have a damaged front wing. And you can see there that Sterling and Paris are starting to close up as well. The Ferrari, puff of smoke there from the front left. It's only a couple of seconds away from VSR Wayne, so I'm a bit unsure what's happened there with Wayne. He's obviously had a poor lap somewhere recently. And Sterling and Paris in 5th and 6th continues to give chase. Louis, meanwhile, now negotiating his 14th lap or 15th lap on these medium tyres. Zeno brakes heavily for turn 10. Nickel in 8th, Aaron in 9th, Sparks in 10th. And outside the points is VSR Lambo, LR Gonanen, who started this race, remember, on the soft tyres on pole position. And Speed Barry, we know, is essentially a DNF at this point. So he's just have 12 drivers of the 17 that started.
And NSX Dusty continues to lead for the Racing Point team here at Spain. Lap 17 of 33. Truesdale and Rafa still very close behind. Wayne continuing to drop back. Look at this. He's lost another half a second on this lap. And in fact, he's lost the best part of a second to Rafa ahead of him. So Wayne is really struggling on these hard tyres. Speed Barry has rejoined. He has rejoined. He's a bit too far back, I feel, to really challenge for even a point. I feel he's 25 seconds behind Gonanen, who is in 12th position. And yeah, I'm not too sure what's happening with Wayne here. He's continuing to lose time. Sterling is now just a second and a half behind, and he's got the attentions of S2B Paris's Renault behind him in 6th place as well. So we wait really to see when Dusty will pit onto the medium tyres, and Louis will also pit probably onto a set of softs maybe. I don't know if he's got any. Well, he might have a set of mediums left. I think he will have a set of mediums because of course he didn't compete in qualifying due to having a quali ban after the misdemeanor driving running up to the line at the end of the previous week's race. So we'll jump on board with Sterling, I feel, just see how VSR Wayne approaches the end of this lap, because he's definitely losing time here, and I think Sterling may very well be possibly in DRS range. We'll have to wait to see when he comes over the DRS line. He's not. He's agonisingly less than a tenth of a second away from it. Paris has it, but he's too far away. Meanwhile, Truesdale and Rafa remain in second and third, and they are now starting to catch Dusty at a vast rate of knots as Louis pits them for the second time onto a set of medium tyres. He'll fall down the order. Where's Lambo and all this? Lambo will jump him. Gonanen will jump him as well. Speed Barry is still not back into his car. So Louis rejoined in 12th place. He's not that far away from a couple of points. Meanwhile, at the front again, Sterling, look at this. He's now within DRS range of VSR Wayne. And again, thank you to Jack Gooding, who's jumped into the chat to ban someone who was posting up some very distasteful comments about what's happened in the last couple of days in motorsport. And again, everyone in the chat collectively getting together to show their displeasure at someone who's just acting like an internet troll. And those people are just the lowest of the low at times like this. Again, if you failed to hear it, once the stream is finished, as Wayne pits, really not comfortable on those hard tyres. He's going to tumble down the order. But quickly, just to say, I did say a little piece about Antoine Hubert at the beginning of this stream. If you did miss it, then after the stream is finished, feel free, if you want to go back and listen to it. And of course, we're all racing in the memory of the F2 driver who tragically passed away yesterday, hence why a majority of these drivers are racing in pink helmets and number 19, Hubert's number. But VSR Wayne then, he is rejoining the circuit. Really did not feel comfortable on those hard tyres, and for whatever reason he has decided to pit. He's out in 12th place, so a positive result for the Alfa Romeo driver is now completely out of the window. It's a big shame then for VSR Wayne. Something clearly not feeling good, and it's currently now lap 19 of 33. So if we could see maybe some love hearts and some hashtag 19AH in the chat, that would be nice to see as well. We saw in the F1 race as well, all the spectators stood up and applauded. I'm not asking you to stand up at home and applaud, but maybe throw a few love hearts in the chat would be nice to see, as NSX Dusty on lap 19 in this BWT Racing Point comes into the pits. A very consistent run at the front of the field. The reserve driver would have enjoyed his time at the front of the field. Now comes in then for the medium tyres. He should rejoin, I think, comfortably inside the top 10. Whereas Aaron Collingwood is still in the final chicane. Lickle, I think, should possibly jump in. We'll jump on board with the Haas driver. Again, another driver sporting the pink helmet, number 19, and Dusty out in 5th place. Look at this, Dusty, the reserve driver, out in 5th place, now on the medium tyres. He can certainly give chase to Paris and Sterling ahead, as Louis sets a new fastest lap of the race. And this the race continues to change. Truesdale and Rafa are fighting over the race win, and we think Truesdale has a 5-second time penalty to be added on after speeding into the pit lane. I don't know if he served in the pit lane. His car was held for a few seconds. I don't know if it was a glitch or if he did serve the penalty. I'm unsure. And now we have Sterling and Paris fighting over the final podium spot as well. Dusty will start to give chase, and what's happened here? Truesdale has lost the lead. Truesdale has lost the lead then, and Rafa is now up into P1. I've missed it, unfortunately. I do apologise. So Truesdale has lost the lead. I don't know if Rafa made a move into turn 10. I've got a sneaky suspicion Truesdale just fell off the road, and whilst one Alfa Romeo of VSR Wayne falls down the order, Rafa continues to get stronger and stronger as this race gets on. Didn't look too comfortable on those medium tyres, but now he's on the hards. He certainly seems to be the quickest car out there at the moment. And Truesdale now down into second position. Sterling and Paris continue their battle over third and fourth. Dusty in fifth place now will start to close that gap, I feel. Nickel doing a good job in sixth. Aaron sort of on his own a little bit in seventh. Sparks, Gonanen and Louis now in 10th place. We jump aboard with the Mercedes driver. DRS assisted up the inside against Gonanen's Haas, who doesn't put up any sort of a fight. And Louis now into 9th place, looking at 2 championship points, as Rafa picks up a 3-second time penalty. So Rafa has exceeded the track limits one too many times and now picks up a 3-second penalty. CPR Lewis saying, how is Edward in 6th place? I can tell you, a few drivers around him have tripped over each other. We've had a few retirements as well, and Lickle has pretty much kept it out of trouble, and is doing a very good job in P6 for the Haas team. Unlike his teammate Gonanen, who started this race on pole position but fell off the road early on, and has now recently been overtaken by Louis, which has demoted him to 10th. VSR Wayne then now onto the medium tyres. Let's see what his performance is going to be like now. He really didn't feel comfortable on those hards and decided to make a pit stop. Lambo a long way back. He's made, I think, multiple pit stops at this point in 12th, and Speedberry is back, I think, inside his car. It's certainly not ghosted anymore, but he is a long way back. And Paris and Sterling are fighting over the final podium spot side by side through turn 3. Hopefully they can keep it clean through as Sterling's just understeering a little bit wide. Still has the inside for turn 4 as Louis sets a new fastest lap, and Sterling holds on to the final podium spot. There's still the best part of 11 or 12 laps left to go, and these two have been stuck together since the get-go. And with other drivers disconnecting and having to make extra pit stops from falling off the road, these guys were originally fighting for around about P6 and 7. But due to the misfortunes of others ahead of them, they're now fighting for the final podium spot. Meanwhile, Truesdale is still giving chase to Rafa. And I'll remind you yet again, Truesdale, we think, has a 5-second time penalty to be added on at the end of the race. Rafa has a 3-second penalty that will definitely be added on at the end of this race. And Speedberry leaves the session again. This time, I feel it's of his own accord. He's got back into his car, realised he's too far back, doesn't want to trundle around for the last 10 or so laps. And again, Speedberry retires for the second time in this race as Lambo in 12th picks up a 3-second time penalty. And Truesdale very late on the brakes there, just sliding that car through Elf turn 1 as he continues to give chase. Meanwhile, further back, Sterling and Paris very close together still. So we've got a good battle for the lead and a good battle for the final podium spot. And AJF1 just saying that Dusty is looking amazing. He is indeed, and he's closing the gap to the two ahead of him. So I feel that probably by the end of lap 25, maybe 26, we'll have a 3-way scrap for the final podium spot. And Dusty is in a good position here on these medium tyres. He can certainly push these towards the end, but locking up the front left like that certainly won't do any good. Lickle on his own in 6th place, same for Aaron in 7th. Sparks in 8th, is slowly being hounded by Louis on those medium tyres. So Louis again still trying to give chase. Wayne is now back up to speed on the medium tyres. He's just over 2 seconds away from Gonanen for what will be a final point. Again, another poor race for McLaren. ILRT out of the race early on. VSR Lambo almost dropping it on the exit curve of turn 4. Locking up as well, going into Sayat's corner. And it's been a difficult season for the McLaren team so far. Here comes Truesdale. DRS again, lap 24.33, just not close enough. Meanwhile, further back, Paris is a couple of attempts further back from Sterling that he wants to be. Not gaining with the DRS. Dusty is, though, it was 2.7 this time, last time by. It's now 2.2, so he's gaining by about half a second a lap. He's leaving Lickle and Aaron Collingwood and co behind. IRT Louis is now gaining right up on Sparks, and I feel potentially a move into turn 4, depending how these two drivers tackle turns 1, 2 and 3. I feel Louis' best opportunity will be with the DRS down into either turn 10 later on this lap, or going into turn 1. You can see here again, following a car that not even that close, just takes away that front downforce, washes away from that front wing, and you end up understeering wide. Closing up again through 4. Now into turn 5, Sparks, a little bit of a lock up there. Under pressure is the Red Bull driver. Louis will be doing everything he can to try and get past as quickly as he can, because you can see other cars ahead of him. You can certainly see Aaron just a couple of seconds up the road as well. So Louis' slow fight through the field is carrying on. Just running wide there through turn 9 now. Up the inside with the DRS into turn 10. I've come off the wrong camera. We'll jump on board with Sparks, who doesn't put up too much of a fight against Louis. I think he knew that Louis was going to make his way through at some point. VSR Wayne, I think, ran wide through turn 9 and picked up a 3-second time penalty. Meanwhile, Rafa and Truesdale close together, and Sterling and Paris are close together as well, ducking and weaving. 2 wheels on the grass down into turn 1. A very aggressive move by both drivers, and Paris now gets past that Ferrari driver for P3. But can Sterling retake it? We've seen Paris pass a couple of times, and Sterling has come right back at him. Can he try something into turn 4? It'll be a brave and bold move, and it'll be a bit of a foolish one as well, because Paris was always going to turn that car in. Now Paris has managed to get past Sterling. He's got 3 or 4 corners to try and bridge some sort of a gap, because he can probably see that Dusty is close behind as well. Less than a second between the racing point and the battle for third between these two. We'll jump on board with Sterling. Can he do anything? He can't. He's made a mess coming out of turn 9 as well. And Dusty is ever closing. He's now got DRS off of these two. So it's a 3-way fight really for P3. Sparks still close to Louis, picking up the DRS, but I feel sooner rather than later Sparks will be over a second away. VSR Wayne close as well to the back of Gonanen. He's got DRS, but I think a move into turn 1 would be more beneficial for him. And again, constantly changing between the cameras because there's little battles everywhere. I want to try and get as much footage as possible. So Truesdale fails to get past Rafa into turn 1. Here comes Sterling. Again, it's going to be a move around the outside if he's brave and bold. Paris defends the inside. Oh, that's late on the brakes as well. Just squeezing, trying to get alongside, but backs out of it, and rightly so. Didn't have enough of his car alongside. We move further down. Sparks and Louis, they're not close enough together. Wayne, he's got the DRS on Gonanen. This is for the final point. And Wayne moves back inside the top 10 on those medium tyres, demoting Gonanen down into 11th. So Sparks, I think, will drop away from Louis. These guys pretty much on their own, and you can see there that Paris, Sterling and Dusty, this is now a 3-way fight for the final podium spot. Up front, Truesdale heavy on the brakes into turn 10, still giving chase to Rafa behind. Paris is clear of Sterling, who was very twitchy through turn 9. So no moves between either of these three at this point. As we come back up to the race leaders again. Again, to reiterate, ILRT Rafa will have 3 seconds added to his race time at the end of this event. Truesdale, we think, will have 5 seconds added to his. So as it stands, nothing changes. Rafa and Truesdale will still be P1 and P2. And with the DRS into turn 1, nothing this time. We'll come back to Dusty, who's right up behind Sterling here, who made another mistake coming at the final corner. This could be the best opportunity and the first opportunity that Dusty has got, but it's going to be difficult to complete this move. Helicopter shot here up the inside, leaves the braking nice and late, just washes over the front of that Ferrari's front wing. Nice and clean there for the Racing Point reserve driver. He's now up into P4 and can see a potential podium ahead of him. All he's got to do in the last 7 laps is pass that Renault driver, but Paris will not give this position up easily. Podium last week at Baku, he wants another one here as well. VSR Wayne, meanwhile, I did see it, I don't know what the time was, but I did see it, and set a new fastest lap of this race. And Dusty unfortunately picks up a 3-second time penalty for too many ETLs. That could ruin his opportunity for a podium, because I don't think Paris or Sterling have penalties. So unfortunately Dusty's now got the bit between the teeth. He's got to catch and pass and pull away from Paris if he wants any opportunity of a podium here. So pressure is now on the reserve driver. Very, very good performance tonight, it must be said, from him. And he's looking good here to get into third, but will he keep it or not will have to remain to be seen. Meanwhile, at the front, Truesdale with the DRS is gaining all the time into turn 1, but he's just not close enough to try anything. Paris then will be looking in his mirrors, but I think Dusty and both Sterling are too far away. Meanwhile, Louis continuing to close the gap to Aaron in their battle for 7th and 8th. I don't think Louis has a DRS. The ghosted car you saw in the background was Speed Barry, so you don't need to pay attention to him unfortunately anymore. So I think Louis will be challenging 7th in the next couple of laps, and still Sterling, Dusty and Paris continue their very spirited battle for 3rd, 4th and 5th. Rafa and Truesdale still very close together. See what Truesdale is like through turn 9. He's have to lift off a little bit more than Rafa did, obviously with the fan downforce going away through that corner. Sterling now picks up a 3-second time penalty, so that makes Dusty's life a little bit easier. He won't lose that position to Sterling, and it'll all change again if Paris picks up a 3-second time penalty. It is possible, obviously, as you can see, to pick up time penalties around here. You know, you run wide one too many times in the duration of this event, you will pick up a penalty or two, and a few are creeping in now, mostly with the guys inside the top 5. I think the only person that doesn't have a time penalty at the moment is Paris in 3rd place. So again, Truesdale on board of a Toro Rosso driver, just not close enough to try anything again into turn 1. Dusty is not close enough, and neither is Sterling. So we'll come to Louis then. We'll jump on board of a Mercedes driver. He's the closest one to try something into turn 1 against Aaron. Recently promoted to a full-time drive with the Renault team after some decent performances in the first 3 races, and after Cliffy left before round 4, Aaron was granted a full-time drive, but he will not be granted P7 here as Louis moves the Mercedes up the inside, and a nice cool, calm, collected move for the Mercedes driver. Now puts himself into 7th place. That'll probably be it for him. I don't think he'll be catching Lickle before the end of this race, but the top 5, I think the positions will change. And it's just a few laps to go here. Can anything else happen with these 5 to change the order? So CPI Lewis just coming up saying, can we see the fastest laps? We can. Louis has it at the moment. There we go then. So where is no, it's VSR. Wayne has it at the moment. Of course he does. 19.606, which is just 100th of a second faster than ILRT Louis, and I feel Wayne will have that unless someone pits at the very end of this race to try and secure that fastest lap. But with these guys so quite close together on track, it'll be pointless to pit. You will lose positions. So we'll bring up the telemetry just to see what EOS modes all of these guys are running at the moment. Rafa, now you can see in the 30% range. Truesdale has got a lot of EOS, actually a hell of a lot of ERS, so he can certainly push more, saving quite a lot in the last few laps I feel to try and get himself a big advantage down that main straight. Paris is running out a little bit, saving as much as he can. Sterling and Dusty have just a little bit more. Louis as well is all in the 20s and 30s, but Truesdale, you can see there, has a hell of a lot of ERS, and he'll try and use it to effect. Rafa is moving it up as well. This is as close as Truesdale has been in the last few laps, and he's going for a move up the inside here. 31 of 33, and Truesdale retakes the lead of this race. But remember, if he is to have that 5-second penalty added on, he needs to be well over 2 seconds clear of Rafa, because Rafa has a 3-second time penalty. We got yellow flag in sector 2. I think that might have been Lambo. It was. He's going slowly on the back straight between turns 9 and 10. So Lambo has had another off, probably lost a car through turn 9. It's recovered onto the track, and it's been a horror show yet again for the Mercedes drivers here. But lap 31 of 33, Truesdale retakes the lead of this race. It's another yellow flag in sector 2. Is that Lambo again going slowly? Dusty's losing positions. What's happened to Dusty? Dusty's off. He's lost it in turn 4 and he's recovering to the track, and unfortunately a possible podium is now completely thrown away. VSR Wayne is going to take position as well, and Dusty has fallen off the road and has retired from the session on track. Retiring a healthy car on track will probably lead to a qualifying ban. We've already seen that already at Baku. So Dusty there, I think, incredibly upset by whatever events has happened there to force him off the circuit, and we lose another driver as Truesdale begins lap 32 of 33. Paris in third, will be safe in third. He doesn't have a time penalty to the best of my knowledge. Sterling certainly does. Lickle now promoted into P5, Louis up into P6, and he is slowly gaining on the Haas driver. Aaron doing a solid job, a quiet race by the Renault driver, but he's in 7th. Same for Sparks as well. After the contact on lap 1, it's been a relatively quiet race. He's in P8, but VSR Wayne is giving chase, and Gonanen finds himself back into the top 10, but he's got the horrible over-revving glitch, and he's coming into the pits as well. So I'm not too sure if Gonanen's possibly going for a set of soft tyres in the fastest lap here. So we've got 11 drivers left then. Speed Barry is disconnected out of this session, as Truesdale still has Rafa close behind, and if it stays like this at the end of the race, Rafa will take down the race win. Paris holding on well in third place for the final podium spot. Sterling in 4th, Lickle in 5th. Yeah, Gonanen and Lambo both in the pits. How many pit stops has Lambo made? I'm reckoning about 4. So, no, he's made 2 apparently. I think that's a lie. He's certainly been in the pits more than that. So Truesdale then coming round the final corner to start the final lap. Rafa very close behind, wants to cross the line in P1. He may not know that Truesdale has a penalty. And here we go then, down into turn 1, around the outside. This is the battle for the lead in the final lap. He has the inside for turn 2. Truesdale will try and hang it around the outside. And here he comes back again up the inside into turn 3. Please don't make contact, guys. It will be terrible to see. And Truesdale retakes the lead. But Rafa is still there around the outside. Will jump on board with the Alfa Romeo driver as he slots back into second place. Meanwhile, Paris and Sterling are fighting hard through turn 3 on the final lap here for the final podium spot. And come off the onboard camera, see what these two are going to do, and they are changing positions. Sterling, if you can just hang it there around the outside, he'll have the inside for 4, but Paris squeezes him up against the edge of the circuit. Very aggressive but very fair from the Renault driver. And here comes Rafa again with the DRS. This will be a do or die attempt. Round the outside it's going to be for the Alfa Romeo driver. Try to cut back through 10 if he can. Will jump on board. He hasn't got the traction, he hasn't got the space, and he hasn't got the track length to do it. And Truesdale is doing everything he can to hold on to this. But remember, we believe he's got a 5-second penalty to be added on. Rafa, we know, has a 3. And as they come through the final chicane for the 33rd and final time, it will be Truesdale that will cross the line in first. But question marks remain to see if he will hold on to P1. Truesdale crosses the line and Rafa does take the race win. The 5-second penalty has been added on. Paris will come out the final corner. Sterling and Paris have been battling all race, but it's the Renault driver that will take the final podium spot. Sterling's 3-second penalty should keep him in P4. Here comes Lickle across the line in P5, holds on to it. Louis crosses in P6. Aaron for Renault in P7. Sparks will be in P8 unless he has penalties. ESR Wayne, disappointing from the Alfa Romeo driver. He had penalties, crosses the line in P9. Then we wait for Gonanen. Will he take down the fastest lap? Because if he does, he will pick up an extra World Championship point. VSR Lambo was a lap down, so he's failed to do it. Speed Barry, we know, disconnected. So Gonanen is obviously pushed as hard as he can. ERS mode number 5, trying to get the fastest lap and pick up an extra championship point. And he did at the very death. 2 points it will be to Gonanen, but he would have wanted more after starting from pole position. So congratulations there to ILRT Rafa, who wins this race due to Truesdale having that 5-second penalty for speeding in the pit lane, which you'll be incredibly disappointed about. But Truesdale will hold on to his championship lead with a very healthy second place and 18 points. And 2 third place finishes in 2 races for S2V Paris. He'll be happy now his season is starting to kick on. So the final classification there, ILRT Rafa picks up the race win, even with his 3-second time penalty, due to Truesdale having a 5-second time penalty, demoting the Toro Rosso driver into P2. STV Paris, 2 podium finishes in the same amount of weeks, and ILRT Sterling, a very, very good drive from the Ferrari driver, almost getting a podium spot, but 3-second time penalty keeps him in 4th place. Lickel in 5th, a quiet race for the Haas drive, but a very good race. Louis has recovered well into P6. Aaron Collingwood, Sparks, VSR Wayne and Gonanen complete the top 10, with the Haas driver picking up the fastest lap. VSR Lambo was a lap down in 11th place. Speed Barry disconnected earlier on, and everyone else that started this race unfortunately failed to finish. Do stay tuned, and I'll try and get the top 3 in for the podium interviews. So all 3 drivers have now joined me for the podium interviews. Guys, if you could double check your settings to make sure you've allowed your voice to be shared, and once you've done that, can you please make sure your microphone is muted unless I'm speaking to you. I'll give you guys a couple of seconds just to double check your settings before I begin. So then, ILRT Rafa has taken down the race win after a 5-second time penalty added onto Truesdale's time for speeding in the pit lane. Rafa, the Alfa Romeo driver, will come to you obviously first as the race winner. First question, were you aware of Truesdale's time penalty, or was it a complete surprise when you was promoted to P1 when you crossed the line?
It was a complete surprise, I didn't know. Pretty much all race long, from the point when I got my time penalty for exceeding track limits. Excuse me. I thought I've lost that race, because he did it really smart as well. He was just staying behind me then after he made his mistake and I overtook him. He just stayed in my DRS and didn't really go for moves. So I thought I lost that race pretty much because I couldn't pull away from him. Yeah, and then when we crossed the line, it first said I was second, and then I jumped up like a few milliseconds later to first place, and I was pretty surprised about that and really happy as well.
Yeah, I mean, just talking about obviously the tyres, I expected everyone obviously to be starting on the medium tyres going onto the hards, but you seem to struggle on the medium tyres sort of halfway through your stint, starting to lose time and falling back a little bit, and then when you changed onto the hard tyres you found that extra pace again. Was there a reason why you were struggling on the medium tyres? Had you maybe pushed them too hard in qualifying in the early laps of the race and they were burning up too quickly? Was the tyre temperatures in the rear just a bit too hot, or was it just a case of you just felt more comfortable once you got onto the hard tyres and you was able to push just that bit more in that stint?
Yeah, I was struggling on the mediums because my front left kept going like really high in temperature, so I actually was understeering a lot in the right hand corners, and that's like, especially in the first sector, it really costs you time. So I've lost a lot of ground in the first stint due to tire temperatures pretty much locking up too much. And then on the hards it got better because, like, I mean, obviously it's a harder tire, so it's more difficult to really overheat them. So yeah, the hard tire worked a lot better for me in that race.
Yeah, and we could certainly see it. Obviously, the last two races haven't particularly gone very well for you. Obviously, China, you was hindered by the incident with Truesdale in qualifying, and you didn't manage to carve your way through the field as efficiently as you would have wanted. And then Baku was also a bit of a horror show for you as well. So is it nice after two races where you failed to score points to pick up the race win here and sort of reignite your championship charge going into next week's race?
Oh yeah, for sure. I'm super happy because Spain really isn't one of my best tracks, I'd say. I quite like the track, but I'm always struggling for pace a little bit. And today, for some reason, I just set the pace. So yeah, I'm really happy to win after having two really difficult races, and just looking forward to next week now already.
Yeah, and talking about next week, obviously it's Monaco, which is our second true street track, if you like, of the season. This is a race that, you know, the consistency and the cleanliness is going to have to be at the top of the game. One minor mistake could see you in the wall and out of the race. So are you looking forward to Monaco? Are you going to go away and do your practice, or do you feel that you're already comfortable going to the streets of Monte Carlo and nailing that perfect lap to be at the front of the grid come qualifying?
Yeah, I think Monaco is probably like my worst track on the game, so I will have to practice a lot, and I will practice a lot as well, because this league is like really important to me, and I want to do as good as possible. I think next week just being as consistent as I can, really, like you said, it's like the most important thing. I don't really see myself like getting pole or anything. I mean, maybe if I get lucky, but yeah, we will see. I'm just gonna take it how it comes and do my best, as always.
Well, all we can ever ask from all of the drivers in ILR1 is to do their best, and I'm sure you certainly will. But congratulations on the race win, an unexpected race win for you. But certainly you can put the demons of the last couple of weeks to bed now and focus on the next few races. So congratulations on the race win and the 25 points, and thank you for joining me for the podium interviews.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. That therefore takes me to our second place driver, demoted due to the 5-second time penalty for speeding in the pit lane. Truesdale, that will obviously be the first question. How disappointed and gutted are you to have sped into the pit lane? We was on board with you at the time to pick up that 5-second penalty, which ultimately has cost you the race win here tonight.
Yeah, it was really unfortunate. Unfortunately, I didn't really practice the pitting, so yeah, it was quite close. I think I was 7 kph over it, and I slowed down a bit too early, and then I thought maybe I can accelerate a little bit, but yeah, it was really unfortunate. I hope that Rafa had another penalty. I knew he had one, so I let him pass, and I hope that he does a few mistakes and get another few warnings, but yeah, he did an awesome job, and his pace was also really strong, so congratulations to him.
I mean, you've managed to extend your lead in the championship due to VSR Wayne obviously having a poor race tonight, and even with Rafa's 25 points, he's still behind his own teammate. So are you, I know it's early days, we're only 5 races into what 21 races it's going to be. Are you sort of going to go away tonight and say, okay, look, I've lost the race win, but I've still gained valuable points in my championship hunt, and is it still for you a good evening as it is anyway? You've picked up the second place here tonight, you was on the pace, you were challenging for the win, you were overtaking Rafa a couple of times as well. So do you walk away tonight still head held high after what was a decent performance?
Yeah, to be honest, I'm quite happy because my pace isn't really good in Spain, as it seems. I'm around 2 or 3 tenths slower over one lap, and I can't really explain why, but yeah, quite happy. I think in a season it's all about consistency. Of course I would love to win, but yeah, I'll take a second place as well.
And just a final question for me, obviously moving into next week, it's Monaco. Similar question to you that I asked Rafa as well. Are you feeling confident about going into Monaco? It really is a love-hate circuit for some of these drivers. Some of them cannot wait to get there and put in a good performance. Others are just hoping and praying they survive to the end. So which side of that fence do you sit on? Are you looking forward to it, or are you just dreading taking to the track?
A little bit of both, to be honest. In the past, I either was really good or really bad at that track, and nothing in between. So yeah, it will be quite exciting to see what the pace will be like, and yeah, really excited.
Well, hopefully if you put in a good performance next week, we'll be able to talk to you again. But for now, commiserations on losing the race win due to the time penalty for speeding in the pit lane. But congratulations nonetheless for the 18 points and obviously extending your championship lead at this early stage of the season. And again, thank you for joining me for the podium interviews.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you. That then takes us to our third place finisher, S2V Paris. 2 third place finishes in the last 2 weeks, really starting to motor up that Drivers' Championship table. Obviously, a bit too far away at the moment to be challenging for the title. It's probably not in your fault, but I think at the moment it's just remaining consistent, getting used to everyone else around you and finding the pace in this series. So first of all, you must be delighted to be on the podium again, but you also must be relieved to beat Sterling towards the end, because you two were in a race-long battle for that final podium spot.
Yeah, that was a bit of an intense race there. Like, I tried to undercut him in the first stint, but it seems that he tried to undercut me, or maybe close the gap to Wayne in front. And it ended up being from there, we were just glued to each other. It was a very, very hard fought third. Probably the hardest I've ever fought for a third place.
Yeah, there was quite a lot of times I had to keep coming back to you two, because the gap between you two was never really more than about a second. You were constantly getting DRS off of each other, some good battling as well through the first sector on a few laps as well. Obviously benefited probably a little bit with VSR Wayne's tyre troubles, having to make 2 pit stops, and obviously Speed Barry losing connection early on in the session. But coming into this event, did you think that you'd be able to replicate your podium finish that you got at Baku? Because both of these podium finishes have, I don't want to use the word gifted to you, but, you know, in different circumstances, you shouldn't be on the podium tonight due to the issues that the cars had in front of you as well. So is it a case of, you know, again, using a phrase I use, consistency is key. Just keep it clean and see what happens at the end.
Yeah, especially for Spain, as I hadn't done much practice before this, so I'm pretty delighted to walk away with any sort of decent result. But I just got to make sure everything's all good on my end. And from there, we can only go forward, because any problems anyone else has in a race, they're not really under my sort of control, so I can only control what I can control, and I've got to make sure that all of my stuff's working before the race.
Yeah, and obviously a question I usually ask to some of the drivers in the first couple of races, obviously I'll ask you now because it is only your second race of the season. Are you still finding your feet with battling some of the cars out there? Because obviously some of these drivers you'd have known of, you'd have raced before, against beforehand in maybe other leagues or other tiers, and other drivers it could be the first time you've battled against them. So are you still trying to find your feet about the strengths and weaknesses of each driver that you're competing with, or do you already feel quite comfortable battling people as close and as aggressive as you can, knowing that it won't end up in some sort of terrible accident?
I feel quite comfortable battling with a lot of people, because if they give me the same respect as I give them on track, it will end up with both cars finishing. As today there was a bit of desync between me and Sterling, but none of us died during the race, so I feel like I can battle with anyone and we can both come out with a decent result, really.
And the final question for me then before I let you go. Monaco next week, same question that I asked both Rafa and Truesdale. How are you feeling going into that event? Because it really is, you flip a coin and you could have a fantastic race, or it could be all over at the first corner.
Monaco, I'm quite confident going into Monaco, because I've already done a few races there before, and the pace is quite good when you turn it up to 11, but obviously the consistency is a lot more important around there, and I'm quite consistent without like hitting one of the walls and nipping the front wing, and then you've got all of a sudden lose all your track position and go forwards.
Well, I'm sure that if you remain consistent as you have in the first couple of races, you should be on for a good result next week at Monaco. But congratulations, it's 2 podium finishes in your first 2 races of the season, and hopefully things will get better and better for you as the season goes on, as you get more and more comfortable with ILR1. But thank you very much for joining me for the podium interviews, and congratulations again on the 3rd place finish.
Thank you.
Thank you. That therefore brings the podium interviews and therefore the stream to the end. Quite a few people leave at the end of the race. They're not interested in the podium interviews, that's fine, but there's still a few of you hanging on as you always do, so thank you for staying on and hearing the drivers' thoughts. And thank you to anyone as well that joined early at the beginning of the stream just to hear my thoughts on the devastating news that we all found out yesterday after the F2 race at Spa, which claimed the life of French GP2 or F2 driver Antoine Hubert. Obviously a very emotional weekend for everyone connected with motorsports. My name is Alex Lilliard. That is not the racing over for tonight. ILR2 and ILR3 will be kicking off in just over 30 minutes time, so do stay tuned to the Inside Line Racing YouTube channel to see some more competitive driving around the circuit Barcelona in Spain. But for now, ILR1 is over and done with for the week, and I'll see you guys next week at 5 o'clock for the Monaco Grand Prix.